So it's almost been a month since the pandemic left us in a state of isolation. The idea of exploring your house for anything new, a place that you should be quite familiar with, seems like an interesting option when you get bored enough. I mean, you live there. Is there really anything else to find? But what if you do find something, like deep in the back? Like really deep in the back? Well, dear viewer, you might have just found yourself in what the internet calls the backrooms. Finding undiscovered areas in your home isn't a fictitious concept. There are plenty of people online who talk about their experiences with areas within their house that they didn't even know existed. For example, a group of Ohio State University students were convinced that their house was haunted after strange occurrences started to happen. These include hearing weird noises and finding open cupboards all over the house. However, what they thought was a ghost turned out to be another student whose room and belongings they found in the basement behind what they thought was a maintenance cupboard. This might sound like a spoiler to a famous Oscar-winning movie from 2019. However, it does prove the idea that there might just be something more behind the concrete wall in your storage room. Originating from a 4chan post on the X Paranormal board in 2019, the Backrooms is a creepypasta meme detailing the space that you can find yourself in when you quote-unquote no clip out of reality. It reads as follows.
If you're not careful and you no clip out of reality in the wrong area, you'll end up in the back rooms where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpets, the madness of mono yellow, the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum hum buzz, and approximately 600 million square miles of randomly segmented empty rooms to be trapped in. God save you if you hear something wandering around nearby, because it sure as hell has heard you.
This is all the info we have from the original post, but due to the growing popularity of the meme, a lot of people online have built upon the lore. There is even a version that focuses more on the world building aspect, adding different levels, deep exploration, a connection to the subconscious, and a survival aspect that I will not touch upon in this video. I will mainly focus on what's contained inside the original post and the thread that followed in the archive. Personally, the expanded lore seems to dilute the mystery and the horror aspect of the creepypasta, but then again I might go back to this some other time. I don't know. Anyways, most agree on one thing, however, that we don't really know much about the backrooms. So what is it, and how do we get there? When I first heard about the backrooms, I actually remembered a game that I used to watch some ordinary gamers play. LSD Dream Emulator, a game he also compares to the creepypasta. The 1998 exploratory type game by Asmic Ace Entertainment has you go around nonsensical areas simulating a dream based on a real dream journal with over a decade's worth of entries. It's a good representation of what dreams tend to feature, however, similarities to the descriptions of the backrooms is why I bring this up. Notable ones are the seemingly never-ending locations, the general eerie and unnatural nature of the surroundings, and the hostile creatures to be avoided, which in the game is the Grey Man. To add to this, many on the original posts claim to have gone to the backrooms through their dreams, suggesting that the area is a manifestation of the subconscious, thus explaining why it appears different to everyone. So is it just a dream? Though it is highly debated what dreams actually are and what they represent. An article from Time.com discusses aspects of dreams that may posture some explanations to the backrooms. Nobel laureate Francis Crick postured the garbage disposal theory, where the brain removes unnecessary information gathered through the day in order to make space for the next. Or as he says, we dream to forget. This is why we tend to forget 90% of our dreams once we wake up, because the information presented in the dream were in the process of being removed from the long-term memory. This could be the reason why the backrooms tend to feature unfurnished and repeating locales, because the information that's needed to add to the surroundings may be in the process of being removed, thus just leaving an impression of what it should be, creating again the uneasiness within the area. Another explanation is the threat simulation theory, postured by cognitive neuroscientist Antti Revonsuo of Sweden's University of Skövde. Here, the dream creates a situation that helps you rehearse a specific threatening situation, such as an exam or a job interview, to better prepare you for it. In relation to the backrooms, the unending emptiness could be a simulated threat to prepare us for isolation and loneliness in the future, or I guess now, according to dream dictionaries online. This could also explain the entities that we're told to look out for, which could be interpreted as the fear of the unknown. We don't know what they are, but they sure as hell register as something threatening to our lives. Lastly, dreams could also be a manifestation of our repressed desires, wish fulfillments as it were, as postured by Sigmund Freud, the guy from your psychology class in high school. This basically means that our dreams simulate our deepest desires. Say you dream about being outside. It could actually mean you want freedom from your self isolation. The article actually does kind of add to this topic as well, funnily enough, as I quote: dreams about finding new rooms in your house may express a desire for opportunity or novelty. While I wouldn't relate a bleak, desolate, never ending space to opportunity in any normal regard, it could possibly be our subconscious desire for adventure and exploration. Simply put, the people who claim to have dreamed of the backrooms could just have subconsciously been wanting to experience a controlled horror movie esque situation. Regardless, dream seems to be the most sensible and realistic approach to what the backrooms actually are. This also seems to be the inspiration for the loved version of the lore. However, the dream aspects of the back rooms may just imply a subconscious connection to the explorer and nothing more. Thus, the only way to get into the back room seems to be just getting a good night's rest. But what if it's not a dream? Rather, what if the back rooms is an actual place you can go to? Some say that the backrooms are actually parallel universes or pocket dimensions that can only be accessed in the very back of a building. Surprising. Determining which one of the two, however, could lead us into a better understanding of what it is and how do we get there. A parallel universe is a completely separate universe where the laws of physics and or the timeline that created it differs from ours. For example, in Marvel, where in one universe, Gwen Stacy becomes Spider-Woman instead of dying in the normal timeline. On the other hand, a pocket dimension is a reality within its own bubble in the universe that may be easier to access given the right circumstances, such as going through the small door that leads into the other world in Coraline. So which ones could the backrooms be? If it is a parallel universe, it could be a completely different one altogether, meaning we wouldn't be able to travel there because it may not be able to support anything coming from our laws of physics. However, it could have also been formed due to a certain event in the past that branched the timeline from ours. If this is the case, what happened? If the backrooms were built on Earth in the past, the events leading up to it must have been very drastic to lead to this behemoth. According to the original post, the area of the backrooms is approximately 600 million square miles. For comparison, the Earth is 196.9 million square miles. Let that sink in. The backrooms is 3 times the size of Earth's surface area.
What? What the fuck?
Whether there was a map somewhere on the walls showing the size of the area, or OP measured it the old-fashioned way, it doesn't change the fact that a complex as huge as this was created for reasons that can only be left to the imagination. Scientifically speaking, you could already be in the backrooms, just not the version of you watching this video. But if you wanted to go there, you could consider the idea that the backrooms could be a pocket dimension. Proposed by Alan Guth as a concept within inflation theory, pocket dimensions are bubbles of reality created by the exponential expansion of space before the Big Bang. This means that our reality is designed its own bubble within the universe, and subsequently the backrooms is in its own. It is still questionable as to how it was made or by who, but it would be a lot easier to access as it can be placed in our own timeline. So how do we get there? I'd say wormholes. Tunnels within the fabric of space and time that connects a point in the universe to another. Theoretically, there could already be millions of wormholes that exist within the known universe due to space-time quantum fluctuations according to the very old string theory. These wormholes are prompted open with cosmic strings that pass through them, placed in when the universe expanded during the Big Bang, providing bridges to one part of the universe to the other, possibly our bubble to the backrooms. However, these are hard to come by, due to gravity trying to force them closed as soon as they open, which could be the reason why portals to the backrooms are hard to find. If you were unlucky enough to find one, however, you may possibly be able to get to the backrooms without much problem. The concepts presented in this theory lies more in the realms of science fiction rather than science fact, but are backed by people who know more than I do. I do have to admit that even I find it hard to wrap my head around the ideas of dimensions and universes, so take these with a grain of salt. I am not a scientist, I'm just a guy who's trying to explain how a creepypasta could possibly exist. However, if our reality was in a bubble, who's to say there isn't anything outside of it? Let's take a step back and talk about video games for a bit. When we interact with walls and objects, an invisible force prevents us from going through them, simulating solidity. This is what's called clipping, where your movement is stopped when colliding with a solid object, or in other words, collision detection. In id Software's Doom 2, typing in idclip in the game's command disables collision detection, allowing you to walk past solid objects and walls. This phenomenon is known as no clipping and allows you to access later areas in the game by going through physical obstacles or going out of bounds to do all sorts of things. In Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, you can no clip out of the map using a glitch in order to transverse what fans dub the Void that allows you to catch Shaman and Darkrai, normally unattainable during normal gameplay. Obviously, this is widely considered as cheating in most games. However, why am I talking about this? In the original post, no clip was mentioned specifically to be the way to enter the backrooms, implying that it's an out-of-bounds area which can only be accessed by disabling the collision detection of your surroundings.
But we're not in a video game!
I hear you say. What if we are though? I've talked about how dreams simulate reality and how universes can be placed within a bubble. What if we take these a step further to say that reality is a simulated bubble in a computer? This idea was brought about through a thought experiment from a Swedish philosopher at the University of Oxford named Bostrom. It goes something like, if we can create a computer powerful enough to simulate an artificial reality, chances are that the individuals in the simulation can eventually do the same. If this is the case, who's to say that we weren't said simulated individuals to erase preceding hours? Leading figures in science and technology like Elon Musk and Neil deGrasse Tyson even postured this belief. Scary, right? Well, there's no real consequence to knowing you're a simulation. Sure, your life may be a lie, mine sure is, but life will go on as it normally does. That is, of course, if you do stay within the simulation. There is no way to determine if we are in a simulation, however, and the idea has been pondered on throughout history. Cogito ergo sum, or I think, therefore I am, is a famous philosophical proposition by René Descartes, which is the conclusion to the idea that we can doubt everything in existence except for our ability to doubt, rather our own consciousness. Everything around us could have just been created as a means to simulate reality by our programmers, or as Descartes would call them, the deceiving gods. After all, when your dog walks out of view, how can you be sure that he's still there? It could be that the only things that load are the immediate things that we can visibly interact with. Thus, anything outside the confines of the walls around us could just be an endless void, and as soon as we walk out of the room, a new one loads up to continue the illusion. This is how video games tend to work, loading up what's necessary to keep you in the illusion of the world without taking up too much memory. In this clip of Pokemon X, you can see the room looks normal until you shift the view of the camera, revealing a void only containing things that the programmers placed in order to simulate the world beyond the walls. Going out of bounds in games tends to load an endless void or a glitched out area composed of texture packs from the previous area that you've been in. The original post suggests that no clipping in the wrong areas leads you to the back rooms, with people claiming that these are places in the very back of any building. These places tend to be unkept storage areas where it's nothing but the stink of old moist carpets, the madness of mono yellow, and the endless background noise of fluorescent lights at maximum humbuzz. See where I'm going with this? These could be the repeating texture packs making up the void, glitched out to seem endless in size. Given this, then, the entities described by the post may just be a means of the program to police the system so that people who do go out of bounds either get removed before a system crash or be returned to a previous save point. Who knows, you could have already been to the back rooms, you just don't remember it. Or maybe you do, but only as a dream. Full circle, everybody. Regardless of whether the backrooms are a manifestation of our subconscious, a spatial anomaly in reality, or even a glitch in the simulation, we might really never truly understand what it is. As vague and fictitious as the original post is, I personally wouldn't discount the possibility of such a space existing in one way or another, may it be science, philosophy, or a conspiracy. The only way we can truly find out if the backrooms are real is if we go there ourselves. But then again, would we be able to come back to tell the tale? Who knows? Are you brave enough? Maybe bored enough to find out? You tell me.